Hey, Dick, can you say something to see if I can hear you?
Can you hear me now?
Yep. It's kind of echoey, but thank you.
Thank you, Tanya. It'll populate when I.
And then one of the ladies on the board is my former financial, well, not only
Right.
have one now, but she used to be my financial advisor. So I know her. I know her here.
It was an S
Yeah.
that we need. It's very minor.
Okay, all right.
You know,
Very, very minor. I just want to make that correction. Added the S, shouldn't have had the S.
Okay,
Slide to the same.
thank you. Okay,
we're singular, not plural.
good afternoon and welcome to the meeting of the Beaufort County Board of Education Finance Committee meeting of August 10th, 2023 at 2:30 p.m. We are at May River High School. We will also be doing remote hybrid conferencing. We've had no public comments, so we won't have any public comments today. In attendance are committee members Richard Geyer, Earl Campbell, Miss Hay has not come on. She said on an email that she will be joining us by phone. We also have board members, Dr. Katrina Gloss, Mr. Will Smith, Dr. Nakia Campbell is here, Dr. Mary Stratos is here, and Ms. Crosby is here. And would you introduce your two staff members?
Yes, you put me on the spot and then I go blank. I'm just let them introduce themselves.
And Denise. And Jennifer Hamlin's online.
Jennifer Hamlin's online, yes.
Okay, Earl is on too.
And Brian Nurek with Compass Municipal Advisors is with us today as well.
Yes, I see Brian's here. All right. So we're going to call this meeting to order and start with the Pledge of Allegiance. Please rise. Flag is here. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States.
United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
First item on the agenda is the approval of the June 14th, 2023 committee meeting.
No, we have to approve the agenda.
I'm sorry. Okay, the approval of the agenda.
I make a motion that we approve today's agenda.
We need to move the community engagement initiative audit presentation from the
First.
last topic to right behind the approval of the minutes.
Okay,
Is that all right?
that's fine.
Okay, and you have moved it. I will second it. Any discussion?
None.
No discussion. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Okay, approval of agenda, we did public comments. Okay, now we have approval of the June 14th, 2023 community committee meeting minutes.
Chairman, I make a motion that we approve June 14th meeting minutes.
And I'll second that motion. Any discussion?
None.
Hearing no discussion. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries unanimous. Okay, I'll let you pitch out. Okay, item on the agenda is Community Engagement Initiative Audit Presentation. Dr. Stratus?
And thank you, board members, for this opportunity of bringing forward Dr. Campbell, who has been our lead administrator with this initiative of extended learning within our community. She has driven this for over 2.5 years with numerous staff members. And with that, I'm bringing her forward to give a quick summary as per your request for your finance committee. Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much for having me. Again, I'm Nakia Campbell. I work right side of Dr. Mary Stratos. And today I will present to you an overview of our community engagement initiative. I would like to start before presenting the presentation with a quick video just to summarize our initiative, and then I will go into
And it's coming through from the- Dina, you can't hear any sound?
Not at all.
Your screen again. Capture. Share it again and make sure you hit that button.
All right, so I need to share again.
Share again and before you should share screen. The green button. The green button. Just hit the green button.
Okay,
And then at the bottom, you see share sound,
sure sound. Got it.
click a box,
All right,
and then share.
all right, let's start this again.
Good job. That's perfect. All right.
The focus has been to make learning enjoyable and fun for the children. They play as well as learn, and we do other activities and enrichment kinds of things.
Learning should be fun. So that's why we do a lot of gaming, interaction, team competitions, so that they can learn but actually have fun.
Okay, let's fix this up. Some of the things that we do here at the center, we help them with their homework assignments. We've incorporated singing in the learning, so we've learned songs to help them remember things that they're gonna need in school and for testing. Okay, good job.
The community initiative program helped us to realize and to recognize the obstacles that the children were facing academically, and the joint effort. It takes a joint effort. It takes not just Beaufort County School District and the community, but it takes the whole village to help us with this program.
4 ways.
The old adage, it takes a village to raise a child. Well, it still holds true today. Even though we're a church, we don't impose religion on the children, but we do establish relationship. And that's what I feel churches are all about.
I love seeing the smiles on their faces. I love seeing them excel in their schoolwork. I love when I get a good report back that their grades are improving, that their attendance is improving at school. We've had some kids that they just maybe had been missing school a little bit, and it seems like their attendance has gotten better. So I just enjoy the interaction of seeing their smiles, letting them know that there's somebody here to help them if they need it. And then I love seeing our people work with them and interact.
I get a lot of positive feedback, especially from the teachers at school, because I reach out to them to find out what we can do to help them help these kids succeed. And the fact that we actually are helping them, they're very appreciative.
And having this program for me, it's been very beneficial because I've seen the improvement in their reading habits and different skills, that's needed. It's awesome. They're doing a great job here.
Some of the parents who have come here and seen the program, they've actually messaged me, so what a blessing it was to have this program going. They really love the environment. So that's been a blessing, is to hear from the parents and just to see how much they appreciate it. And then also to hear from the kids. They love coming here. They love having a place to go after school.
I enjoyed that they are helping me with my work and helping me to understand how to do it. And they teach new stuff and new strategies to help you with your work.
I like doing drawing and reading books and doing math.
If we can make a difference in one child, here at Meadowbrook, or one family that's struggling with their child and their homework, then it's all worth it. And so everything that we do here as an outreach of our church involves our community. And so, that's a big part of who we are.
Our community center has always been the hub of our community. It's always been where we came to get information about what was going on in the community, and for us to give back, that's right on.
And it takes us working together to kind of like reiterate what not only the school is doing and what we're doing, but also the parents in the community. And as you reiterate what we are working on, then everybody as a whole coming together can make this program succeed.
Everything that we do for these children in our community, just a smile, a hug, helping them read better, helping them understand what their math facts are, all of that means something to them. And so we see that when they're excited to be here, and we have seen that growth.
The stuff that they get us to do academically, okay, so they try to push us to where we can reach our goals for next year. So I needed to improve on fractions and multiplying fractions and that. So I've been doing that, and I've also been doing multiplication, division games.
Cursive handwriting. They teach me how to do capitals and learn how to make my letters look better.
Learning is fun, and it changes who you are. It makes you a better person, and then you can share and help that learning experience with someone else. And that's what it's about, is helping each other, helping this community. If we all work together, we can be a better place.
12, 13, 14, 15.
Yes, so. So I truly believe that it is about community engagement. And when you watch this video, it is a testament to our district, what we can do when we engage our community. So I wanted to start with that video before I went in with my presentation. So the research tells us that community, I'm okay, Robin? I just want to make sure.
I'm trying to get back to the presentation.
Okay, gotcha. I'll go back.
Exit. Okay, so go back in.
Move it over there.
All right. Yeah.
Takes a village.
Yeah, it takes a village. Yes, I'll reiterate. Watching the video really solidifies the importance of community engagement. And I feel that after COVID, if we learn one thing as a district, it takes a community as well as the system in order to get the outcomes that we want for kids. And that's what this initiative is all about. So our research tells us that after school programs are really important for our students. It's important for our kids to have a safe environment, and it plays on all of the aspects of our children so that we can have the outcomes that we want for our students that we serve. And so our community engagement initiative does just that. It fits right into what the research tells us. So our community engagement initiative is open to all students. Well, all.
Pardon the interruption. Kelly Martin, could you please come by the front office of May River before you leave campus today? Kelly Martin, please come by the front office. Thank you.
So our community engagement initiative is open to students in grades K through 12. And we've had this initiative since January of 2022. And I'm going to talk more about it, but it's open to students within our district, grades K through 12. So we have 12 active sites as of the end of this school year. And the names of our active sites are listed here with us. We have faith-based organizations as well as nonprofits. And so our faith-based as well as nonprofits are in specific communities around our district. And I'll talk a little bit about that. So we'll go back to COVID and I'll make this connection. So after we entered back into our school in COVID, we had data that supported that there were specific communities within our district that had large percentage of students that did not choose to go back into the school, like they stayed in a virtual setting. And so we knew that after we were engaging students back into our schools, that, you know, the face-to-face instruction was where we would get the biggest bang for our buck for our students. But we noticed in specific communities, there were a large percentage of students who did not take advantage of that opportunity. So with that, this idea to engage our communities, we wanted to make sure that our after-school programs were accessible to those communities first. So we started with our St. Helena community as well as our Well Branch community for the engagement with our community. So I just wanted to kind of set the historical perspective of how we got started. We started with sites in St. Helena as well as Ladies Island and Well Branch. And then we grew into 12 sites by the end of this school year. And so the sites that we have are listed: the Church of the Harvest, New Life Deliverance Temple, D. Gulloway, Meadowbrook Baptist Church, Grace AME, Scott Community Center, Mount Carmel Baptist Church, St. Paul Baptist Church, Bluffton Community Soup Kitchen, St. Andrews by the Sea, Hilton Head Boys and Girls Club, and the Sea Island Presbyterian. Yes. So at our sites, we offer a plethora of things for our students. The support that we know is needed in order for our kids to be successful. So each of our sites provide academic support, and that is a certified teacher or a non-certified person to assist with the instruction, as well as support from the district as well. Each of our sites have Wi-Fi access, and we also provide that for sites to give additional support for Wi-Fi access. The other is we want to encourage all of our sites to have physical activities for students, so they're just not sitting. Keep in mind, this is after school, so we know they've had school for 7 hours, but we want them to move around. Light snacks, and we also provide a hot meal at the end before the students leave. Transportation is available for them in the after-school program. And the part that I really want to emphasize this afternoon is that they have a community advocate, someone that is invested in the educational process for our students. So it's not just teacher or district, but you have a community advocate that wants the students to be successful as well. So I feel like those are the major benefits. I can list many more, but this is what we give all of our students that are part of this. So I wanted to emphasize that. We also provide professional development for all of our sites, teachers and assistants. Some of the professional development trainings include CPR, CPI, which is our crisis prevention. So if there's any issue that we, like behavior-wise, that we want to de-escalate, we want our people to be trained on that. We also have MyPath software, and our MyPath is software that we use at the sites. A lot of times our kids are on software and we don't want the burnout, so we have something that's a little different at our after-school sites. We also provide safe schools training, and that includes our boundary invasion as well as FERPA, because we want people that may not be directly in our system to understand our training around boundaries with our students, as well as protecting our students' privacy is important in this as well. We also provide professional development for iReady, Reading Plus, Dreambox, and Scholastic. And the reason why we provide that training, many of our students, this is what they are involved with in their school. So we wanted our teachers to be aware of the software so that they can support the students through that as well. So we provide that training as well. And for our upper grade level students, we had a couple of students that were 8th grade as well as in high school. So we also provided a level of training for ACT and SAT preparation, so we can help our high school students with that. So these are the trainings that we provided for each of our site teachers and assistants since we've started this initiative. Since we started this initiative, we have touched the lives of nearly 600 students. And this is a picture of a group of students that went to the Citadel, I think it was last year in March of 2022. Our students took a trip to Charleston, was able to experience the aquarium as well as the Citadel. And many of our students did not have that experience. That was their first experience. So one part of this is that we ask for feedback from our sites. Is this working? Is this not working? How can we make this better? And a part of conversations and input was that the extended learning piece, having students experience a variety of things is important to this program as well. So this is just one example. So this summer we extended, we talk about the summer loss. So it's kind of like we have these gains, but we don't want to lose these gains. So we provided a summer extended learning camp, which started in July 10th, and we ended August 3rd. And we were able to serve over 120 students within the variety of sites throughout the district. These are a couple of pictures of our students, either at the sites or outside of our sites. Some of the activities as well as places that we've taken our students. The Citadel, which I've talked about, the aquarium. We've done nature walks. We have gone to the Maritime Center, Kazoo Factory, the Beaufort Library, and just recently, we took our students to the Columbia Zoo, which was in June of this year. So we've been recognized, and I want to celebrate that. So the WTOC has done interviews with myself, as well as other people that have been a part of this initiative, as well as our superintendent. We were also recognized with the Chiefs for Change with Dr. Rodriguez, also in the Washington Post. Last summer, if you were here for Summer Institute, we had a scientist. Her name was Clarice Phelps. She was our keynote speaker for our students, and the kids loved her. So we're trying to expose as well as provide the experience that we know is necessary for our students to be successful. So of course, I'm at a finance committee meeting. I know I talked about a lot of instructional things, but I think you want to know about the cost. So I said, you know, I can give you the big number, and I can break this down into many parts. So we have served nearly 300 students for this calendar year, this school year. And the average cost per student is about $1,500 per student. So when you think about that, I try to break it down even more, how the impact of the $1,500 per student. So with that, our students attend our after-school program Monday through Thursday from 3 to 6. So if you calculate that throughout our weeks per month and 8 to 9 months a year, we are extending the learning in terms of hours, nearly 400 additional hours for each student. So I want to put that in perspective. If you divide that out, that's more than 50 additional instructional days for each student. And I'll emphasize there's academic support, Wi-Fi access, because we do know that some of our students are in communities that don't have reliable Wi-Fi access, physical activities, we feed them. So when they leave us at 6, we know that they have a belly full. We're providing transportation, the community advocate, and the last part that I want to emphasize, we have an engaged community. We say that sometimes, but how do we really engage our community? Our membership, the people that are part of this initiative, they are engaged. They want our students to be successful in this program. So we have community advocates as well as an engaged community. And all of our research goes back to when you have an engaged community, you have a successful school district. And I feel like we're on that track for success. All right, so I do know that when you get federal dollars, they're not always there, Ms. Crosby. So we did think about a sustainability plan. And in our sustainability plan, there were 3 pieces that we looked at. So we knew that in this time period, people are going to attempt grants. So we wanted to make sure that our research, our documentation was above par. So we are working with 2 universities, USCB as well as the Citadel, in capturing the research around the work that we've done in the last 2 years. In that, they are working with us to really capitalize on the qualitative research. So it's easy for us to give you MAP data and South Carolina Ready data. Every organization is going to provide that. But we really want to hone in on the qualitative research. How are our kids feeling? Are they excited about going back to school? Our grandmothers are calling us saying, hey, when does it start again? This is a wonderful program. And I feel like sometimes in our research, we have a heavy emphasis on the quantitative, but how do we capitalize on the qualitative research? So we're working, I'm sorry.
Elizabeth had a question, but I'll let you finish.
Okay, I'm sorry. So our universities are helping us to collect that information.
Elizabeth's question is, when did this initiative begin?
So we started in January of 2022. January of 2022. I had to get that out. 2022. The last full week of January of 2022. And so the last part of that, I'm going to have Dr. Straddles. No? Okay. But securing funding beyond ESSER. We know that, this is going to come to an end. It's the sunset. So we feel that we are working with organizations, funding sources that can support this initiative.
So we're looking first, working with the Boys and Girls Club, that partner at some of our schools in the north end of the county, and then reaching out to other organizations for long-term, at least 3-year grants, looking for sustainability. The 21st Century Grant is a grant also that our eye has been on, but we are already involved with that, with partnership with another non-for-profit group. So it's hard for us they will not reallocate a district more than one 21st Century Grant. So we are reaching out, putting out our feelers, and we've actually had quite positive response from 2 organizations. One, we have to push a little harder to extend to something that we're kind of to develop in Beaufort, proper from Mossy Oaks to Beaufort Middle, to have a feeder pattern of extended learning for our students there as well. So we're trying. We have one on the table saying yes, and then we're going to work on an RFP for another organization for funding.
And I'd like to leave with this quote: community partnerships are a living curriculum in which the relationship and experience drive the future. And so I just believe that our partnership with our community is what is going to give us the outcomes that we want for all kids that we serve in Beaufort County.
I have members, questions. Ms. Hay, do you have any further questions?
I do not at this time. Thank you.
Mr. Campbell, do you have any questions or comments?
I would just, I think we talked about this before, to see how we can get more parents involved, because you know what happened already, that one community.
Yes, sir. So I think, to answer your question, Mr. Campbell, I think as an organization, we have to continue to tell our story and what we do, and articulate in our community the support and resources that we have. And so I think in the community that you're mentioning, we just need to do a lot more engaging our churches,
Mhm.
communicating what we have for our students. Yes, sir.
Mr. Smith, do you have a question or comment?
Actually, I believe this presentation was posed by Mrs. Ingrid Boatwright. And, I believe that correct. I believe that she was going to pose this question to the board to bring this forward. I'll be looking to see what questions she have. And I believe they are but also I'm looking at in the respect of I'm glad we got the information, but to see year to date from beginning to end how much dollars that we have exactly spent on this program in terms of drivers, in terms of staff. I believe that's more of a line of what she wants. So I would definitely like to see myself. I'd like to see exactly how much money down to the penny that we've actually spent on this program and on this initiative.
So it's,
So
if
I don't,
if
go
I
ahead.
may, so what Ms. Mattson is, will be pulling up our ESSER dollars. What we do not have at the table would be the amount utilized for any outside of the extended learning field trip experiences. Those have not been paid through ESSER, those have been paid through the division. So that information wouldn't be available. Some we did through, but we do have the ESSER.
So the combination of ESSER 2 and 3, I was just looking at it as the presentation was going on, and I'm sure Ms. Mattson was as well. 1.7 million is the total budget. So we have about 600,000 remaining. Is that accurate? And the two grants. And so to reiterate what Dr. Strata said, it would exclude any food or other extracurricular activities that federal funding typically frowns upon. So we've used other funding to do those. So 1.7 million is the dollar amount that we have on books in our account, in our reports.
And just to be honest, that's not that's just throwing to me that when she's throwing a number out there, I like to see the breakdown of that. I mean, I could say, yeah, we spent $64 billion in school, but the taxpayers want to know what's the breakdown of it. And then I want to understand and digest and break down exactly how much money we use, what the money been allocated for. I mean, in regards to what account has come for, I like just a breakdown of the total money used to fund this program. Because when you ask yourself, when you put teeth into it, and you said that, like I said, that Dr. Sprouse just so elegantly stated that they're going to get, they're shopping to get new funders. So what type of money are we looking for to replace the money that was actually spent? And what as a funder or someone coming on to support this, I want to know what goes into it initially. How did y'all run it before? So if you actually all that is very, very it's just to me it's all in the same timeline of who, where, what, when, why, now. And I think there was a little question that also that Angry Boys was getting at. I'm just speaking. She will let me know at the next meeting when she hears. But I don't have a problem with that. And I myself too. I don't mind hearing that as well. So thank you.
Dr. Claus, do you have any questions or comments?
No, I do not.
Okay, I have a couple things. First of all, I'm a big fan of this program. Secondly, do you have any concept of what the potential site demands would be? Do you have, what I'm looking at is, have we done a survey to try to figure out how many parents would sign up for this in a heartbeat?
So when we initially started the initiative, we went to our schools that fell within that community. And keep in mind, this is just one after-school program that we serve kids. So we have other after-school programs like Boys and Girls Club, YMCA, tutoring. So we didn't want to come across as a competition, but another opportunity for access. Okay, so I wanted to start with that. So each of the schools that fell within those communities, we sent out surveys to those families. So some families were engaged in after-school opportunities. so they didn't choose this. And, you know, others did. I do want to tell you, Colonel Geyer, that we tend to get our elementary students, the age students, engaged in the program. And I'll tell you, like, when they're in middle school, they have other activities like sporting and that sort of thing. So not that we don't serve all grade levels, but we tend to see more of our elementary students accessing the initiative. I want to make sure I answer your question.
No, you did,
Okay.
you did.
And also, just to add to her answer, the parents are very in love with the program. The parents have said that they've seen where the kids have came home more actively engaging. Their level of conversation has changed more from play to using larger words to challenging their parents and asking their parents different things. And one mom told me, said, my child stopped saying, well, that was, she was cooking, she was baking a cake. And her child would ask her, well, mom, how do we use timetables in the form when you baking a cake? And mom said, baby, well, we might not want to use timetables. We might want to stick with basic addition and vocabulary, addition and subtraction. So the parents can have definitely seen the change of their kids and the intent of how their kids have brought school home, and they have expressed that, and they have expressed it to other friends, and so other people are very the community are very looking forward to get actively engaged and get their kids in it, because at some point in time this program did have to have a cap, because you know, you can only serve so many kids at certain places, especially with the COVID level at that time. So yeah.
Well, I still think, though, that a more comprehensive survey to give us an idea of total demand. Because I think we need to set our sights high. I think we need to expand. I think we need to find more community enterprises, more so than just the churches, but other. For example, I could see Habersham as a group sponsoring a program. I could see some of these gated communities sponsoring a program. I can see some of the businesses. I see the Chamber of Commerce, the Black Chamber of Commerce, the White Chamber of Commerce. I can see, you know, any number of entities that would be willing to sponsor something like this, not only with funds, but also with places. You mentioned getting the quantitative and qualitative data. That is key. Now, obviously, we know the children that participated in this program this summer, and we're going to be getting test results. And so we're going to need to see if we can see some really strong data that shows quantifiably what that does per child. That plus the demand, you put those two together and you have a very powerful statement to get out, to get funds and so on. But your point also about the survey data of the parents, the anecdotal pieces, is strong anecdotal testimony, if you will, from people that are involved in this, both providing it and receiving it. It will make us get that grant over somebody that just brings the hard metrics in it. I love this program, and we have to figure out how we're going to expect. You can't fall away from this program. We got to find the money to at least continue this program, because the longer we have it, the more data we get, the more value we can show. If we just do this, and as soon as ESSER funds fall away and we stop it, then it's like going back like you never done it before. Obviously, it didn't work, so that's why you dropped it. I think we have to figure out, in budgeting, Tanya, coming up, how to sustain this.
I think they have some great ideas to start us out, but there are a number of things on the list, and we're beginning to work on the prioritization of that.
Mr. Smith.
And that what you just said, I think it really comes down to not Mr. Crosby. It really comes down to the leadership of the Beaufort County School Board. It comes down to us not just talking about, like sometimes when people tend to talk about things, it comes down to us actually putting our money where our mouth is and actually saying that we believe in it, because the data is there. In fact, the data piece is very, is actually a complex piece, because if you have better results from kids who are going down school all day, then that could become complex within the.
Kelly Martin, if you're in the building, could you please stop by the front office? Kelly Martin.
Within the district and the actual school program, because now there's almost like pulling teeth about where's the data actually coming from. So, you know, the data is great, the data is good, and it shows us a great thing, but it comes down to with after 12 years of these kids living and these kids going out into the workforce, about them being actual good productive citizens to be able to feed their families. You know, when I look at what we have going on within the last week of all the amount of violence we've had in this community, it comes from people not being educated and being people not having a way out. So either we want to put the money up to or allocate some money to keep this program going, and we show it up front the same way how we showed that we wanted to make sure our teachers were paid more. Oh, we're the leading in South Carolina is the same way we have to allocate money for this program when we move forward. So I think it starts with the board leadership, starts with the top, not the bottom. That's all I got for that. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it. We're going to move on to our next agenda item. And the next agenda item is the monthly Board of Education budget. And as I look at the handout, I see, do we have the budget? We haven't spent any money on it yet. We just started the fiscal year, but I want to bring up a issue that Ms. Cushenberry brought up to me. We have to provide some support for having a board meeting over south of the Broad. And Ms. Cushenberry, would you please inform the committee what you have discovered?
It has not been finalized yet. Dr. Rodriguez is still working with council, but if we go back out for a bid, well, the county channel will not support us on Hilton Head. We will not be going back, and Dr. Rodriguez does not want us to go back to the library for safety issues. So then right now he's proposing that we would be meeting south of the Broad. We would be at the Hilton Head Creative Arts School in the gym. In order for us to do that, then there's equipment and things that we would need to get to provide service and stuff. And we're looking at somewhere between $40,000 and $50,000. If we go back out for a bid again, to have someone other than County Channel to cover our meetings, we still will have to pay. So I think it was coming in around $50,000. It wasn't final, but it was looking somewhere between $40,000 and $60,000 a year for supporting our board meetings.
So that is.
So there is no final numbers, but
Yeah.
we're looking at somewhere.
But I looked
between
at this
40 and-
budget to see where in this budget we would have that kind of funding. And, you know, that obviously we didn't budget it.
Well, we did increase the technology budget.
Yes.
On the second page, about midway down, there's an $80,000 number. That number was 30,000 last year. So we did increase it because at the time we were budgeting, we believed that we were going to have to go outside, use an outside consulting firm. So there is additional funding there. And I think that the level of spending that we've experienced the last couple of years supports the fact that we should be able to afford that sort of amount within the board's budget, I believe. Now, if
With
we
a
were
within the combination of the different pockets and stuff, we were pretty low. So overall, we would be able to pay for it at the level of where our budget is in totality.
We're going to have to get this on the road if we're going to have our September meeting south of the Broad.
Right.
So I saw this on the agenda, the board budget, and I thought, let's talk about the dollars in this, and then we're gonna have to talk about the full board approving this. Dr. Gross, how do you think we ought to go on this?
Well, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, well, we've already, the board's already made it clear that we want the meetings, the twice monthly meetings to be split between north and south of the Broad. So I don't, I think it needs to go out for bid again, or we say, okay, the county channel is not willing to do it at the School for Creative Arts?
Right now, they don't have, no, it's not finalized yet. Dr. Rodriguez is going to be talking with county council. So it has not been, he's met with the county channel, the director there. And when we had the meeting, he was talking about if we are having the meeting there, the amount of money they would have to spend for equipment, because they would have to go out and buy the equipment. And right now the cost was up to $30,000 to $40,000. So then the discussion is who's going to pay for that and so forth. So it's still in discussion.
Yeah, but it does seem like what Tanya just pointed out, we purposefully increased the tech service licenses with thinking that this was gonna probably be an issue.
Okay, so I think we should get some more information, get this finalized, because we're gonna need to get somebody going pretty quick. Mr. Smith?
Yeah, I think that we need to get more information on it. Even though the board just said that we would like to have a meeting on the other side of the Broad, but to what cost? I think that this should come back before the board. It should be a full board discussion. In terms of what is going on, in terms of the equipment, the cost of it, even if it's budgeted, and is it worth moving the location? Because I think moving the location should be a board decision, and in terms of where we have our meetings and what it will cost. I believe that's the board's decision and no one else. So I believe that we should start there. And if there's some information that can be brought to the board, then that information should be brought to the board collectively as a whole, and not individuals' decisions or opinions. Okay.
Let's there's nothing further. Let's move on.
So I think would actually just to so basically where are we as chair on that decision? Where are we going to be waiting for information, or where do we go from here?
We're going to report to the full board in the finance committee report.
Thanks for that.
Okay. Next item on the agenda is the monthly $100,000 report. First, we have two of them, one for May and one for June. I have had some time to analyze these. I'm going to make some comments and let the fellow board members, if they can get a chance to take a look at it, they can, I don't know if you've had enough time to look at it. I have had the time. So let's start with May. The city of Beaufort, South Carolina, this is page one of the 4 pages. We went from a year ago paying them $2,200 to paying them $216,000. Parent CPR classes. What's going on?
Regulation and parent CPR. I'm not aware of the parent CPR. I know, oftentimes the timing of the billing is fluctuates from month to month. So I'm not familiar with the parent CPR, but I can certainly look into it and give the board an update coming back. I haven't had an opportunity, unfortunately, since our last discussion to look into some of the details of these. So that will be the first one.
Okay, that'll be the first. Let me talk to the second one. The Coastal Security Services went from 19,000 to 180,000.
So in the prior year, I think this was the first year where we had the major contract. And so in the prior year, that did not start, had not started yet for covering all of our elementary schools. So that would explain.
Okay, my methodology when I go through this is I draw arrows between
Yep,
whether it
major
was higher,
differences.
lower, and then I put crosses about how much, those are two of the major ones. Then we get on the second page, the SA Teachers LLC, that's the substitutes, right?
Source for Teachers, that is also known as ESS, that's
Yes.
the new name.
Yeah.
And so that would be the postings, the payments for that month. Those come in at different times. And it is a long series of spreadsheets that have to be reviewed and then posted individually. So that could fluctuate
That accounts
a
for
week or so and reflect that, most likely reflect the timing of the payment.
That's a doubling of the payment
Mhm.
last year. Okay, all right, I got that one. Next one is Town of Bluffton total. And both towns, Bluffton and Beaufort seem to be getting a lot of money from us. They went from 7,300 to 195,000.
Actually, as I recall, the city of Beaufort had once, in previous years, billed us at one time at the end of the year. And they began to be billing us more frequently, which is helpful for us to budget on, not have such large costs at the end of the year. Town of Bluffton, so there was some debris and trash removal services on Duck Island Road, location in Bluffton. So that was last year, and the current year is SROs and school crossing guards for certain schools. So again, the billing is sporadic. Excuse me?
End of year billing is what you're.
Yes, yes. End of year billing for Town of Bluffton.
That's all I had on the month of May. Mr. Campbell, do you have any? Month of May? Pardon me, Elizabeth's not on right now. And Mr. Smith, do you have anything about the month of May?
So you said we're paying for crossing guards?
Yes, sir.
What kind of crossing guards?
When there are major intersections, for example, River Ridge going to Hampton.
Lakes.
Hampton Lakes across the street, that's a major highway, 4-lane highway, so we have crossing guards there. We have, so that would be an example in Town of Bluffton. As one example.
Is that at a elementary school or
That's at River Ridge Academy, so pre-K through 8.
do we have a security guard?
Yes.
So they're also always at the intersection where the farm is across from H.E. McCracken Middle School. That's an extremely busy intersection there. And because H.E. McCracken is there and Bluffton Elementary is there, and the high school's not too far away, and lots of kids are crossing there. I go by there all the time, and I think they do an awesome job there, the crossing guards.
We have a school resource officer there because all of our middle schools and high schools have SROs. So we consider our K through 8 middle schools for purposes of SROs. So they don't have a security guard, but they have a school SRO from the Town of Bluffton.
Right, and my concern is that we're paying all this other money. I think that even when I was in school, I remember our SRO would go out, he would go out and he would make sure all the kids on the buses, and the buses would give him time to put his lights on, he would go out there and he would stop traffic and allow the buses and stuff to go out. I think that we could have our SROs and some of these security guards, and the town of Bluffton would have some of these other officers who are on patrol to help us out to alleviate some of this some of this cost that would put on the taxpayers. I think that teamwork makes the dream work, but I do have some concerns in terms of how we're teaming and how we're spending some of this money. It does concern me. I think that there are other ways that we can get some of this work done.
I would just say that the sheriff department will not support that. Period. I can tell you that. He will not support the deputies going out and doing that.
I would disagree with that just because of the fact that that's no different than them working with escorting families and churches to graveyards. That is no different. They stop traffic and they do different things. So those are all the same. So those are all the same services. So maybe the taxpayers need to get involved. I mean, so I just want to put that out there.
Dr. Gross?
Yeah, we're kind of getting into the weeds here, but I can tell you that the crossing guards where I just spoke about, across from the farm and H.E. McCracken, to me, they look like they're probably Sun City folks, and they've got to come there, twice a day. I mean, it's odd hours. You're, there for in the morning and then there again in the afternoon. Like I said, it seems to work really well, and I would agree with Earl's comment. I can't imagine that the sheriff would be wanting to put your SROs out there.
Elizabeth's back.
Pardon me,
Elizabeth's back.
Elizabeth. Ms. Hay, do you have any comments?
I don't. I've unfortunately missed the last few minutes because of being in with a surgeon. But Robin had asked me to let her know when I came back on.
Thank you.
I have a statement. I'm Jennifer. I just pulled our MOU. We have 5 crossing guards that we support in the Bluffton market through the town of Bluffton. Those are located at MC Riley School at Burke Church Road, at the entrance of Bluffton Middle School on Simontonville Road, 1 school crossing guard at Bluffton Middle on Buck Island Parkway, 2 crossing guards at H.E. McCracken and Bluffton Elementary. One is one of the 2 sits at the entrance of Bluffton Middle School and Simontonville Road. So that is part of our standard MOU that we have with the town of Bluffton.
Okay.
How much does that cost? And what's the cost of that?
There aren't compensation. It's broken down because it includes SROs as well. So I would have to get back with you on that, but we do support 5 crossing guards in that area.
And I'm sure the community will want them to stay. So the community of Bluffton.
Yeah, I mean, that's true, but we can, there's people who may volunteer for that. I just said that.
No, Mr. Smith, we're not going to go into that. This is what it costs. This is what the community wants. If you want to make a motion in an open session to take that away or look at other options, you're free to do that, but we're not going to do that here today.
Okay, no problem.
Okay?
I'll definitely do that then.
Thank you.
Okay.
Next item is the June $100,000 report. I went through it. I didn't see anything except questions on Riverview Charter School. The total went up from 652,000 last year at this time to 1.09 million. And I assume that again is the difference in billing cycle.
600,000. I don't have the consolidated report with me. Actually, Robin did provide that to me. It's missing that in my packet.
Where is it?
June. There was a change in Riverview's payment for the month of July, but these are May and June, so that does seem a significant amount. That may have been, let's see, Riverview.
Anya, it included a USDA reimbursement as well as our normal Riverview allocation.
Okay.
Okay.
Riverview.
On page
Yes,
2.
page 2. Other than FEMA insurance.
Under the PBA insurance.
Okay, I see. 652. So USDA reimbursement. So yes, there was some delay in the USDA system that did not allow us to claim reimbursements for a couple of months. So for Riverview's share of reimbursements that flow through our school district and then we pay to them. So that would have included those USDA reimbursements for a couple of months to accumulate to a larger amount. But our allocation is about the same. Monthly allocation is about the same. So that's the only reason for an increase. It was a different funding source for it.
Mr. Campbell, do you have any comments on
I
that?
don't.
Ms. Hay, I know it's kind of hard to see it on the, hear about it on the phone.
Yes, it is, but I don't have any questions or comments at this time.
Dr. Gauze, do you have any comments or questions? on
No,
that?
thank you.
Mr. Smith, do you have any comments or questions? Okay. Next item is the transparency reports for May and June, and oh boy, did I have fun with these. We had many pages.
Yeah.
And I will start with the first one, which is the May report, page 83 of 107. On page 83. And that has to do with Department of Revenue, South Carolina Department of Revenue. And it is April SC tax on adult meals. And there's item after item after item. And what in the world are we paying?
We have to pay sales tax on adult meals. So if teachers eat meals in schools, we have to pay sales tax on those meals. And so we do a monthly sales report,
So
sales tax report.
You keep track of when teachers,
Yes, the POS system, the point of sale system in the cafeteria automatically does that. So the cashier identifies if it's adult or child, and it automatically captures that data. And our bookkeeper in Virginia Weekly captures that data once a month, and we file a sales tax report on it.
that is amazing.
Mhm.
Are the teachers not paying tax on the meals they're eating?
I couldn't answer that definitively. I would have to double check to be sure. But the meals are in the neighborhood. They were for this past year, $3 and something. And so I will check to be sure, but whether they pay us or we pay on their behalf, we just have to submit those dollars to the Department of Revenue. So I will check to see if they are paying sales tax.
Yeah, the entry is as few as 28 cents for an entry, up to a max of $36. Oh no, here's a $515 entry. So we're making we're obviously making automation work for us, but that's a good question about
Sales tax.
find out what the.
Yes, so Cindy Phillips behind me has emailed Ms. Weekly. I don't seem to have an internet connection on my computer right now, but she's contacting her and we'll find out.
Just for the members of the committee and for the public listening, if any are listening, this is everything that we spend every month. And I go through it looking for unusual things. And most of them are just standard billing of, each time we pay a utility bill, for example. But it's important that somebody is looking at this. And so this committee is doing that. And that's all I have for the month of May. Does anybody else have anything that they want to? I didn't think so. All right, let's go to the next month of June. June, we only had 86 pages, but I had a whole lot more questions. So let us start. First of all, I want to congratulate, when you go through this and you see who we're spending money with. And one thing caught my attention is because it's a vendor that I've used. It's Fender's Auto Body on Laurel Bay Road. Fender's Auto Body is the most affordable, yet does the best quality auto body work. And I see that we've used it. And I thought, congratulations, somebody is looking at finding somebody that's not the most expensive or anything else of our many body shops. You found the one that I happen to know is pretty darn good.
That's maintenance.
That's maintenance. Congratulations,
department.
congratulations, maintenance. On page 50. Page 50, it's called one-time vendor. Who in the world is one-time vendor?
One-time vendor are typically parents. So you see a lot of 7 account numbers that start with a 7. Those are student activity funds. And what typically I see a lot of refund.
Yeah.
So refunding technology supplies that were found, and we return a fee of some sort or a charge, oftentimes in the food service fund as well. At the end of a school year, so if I have a child in a school, I utilize a service for them to eat lunch called PayPams. And PayPams is an online payment system where it holds a balance. So I may put, I want to put $30 on my child's account so that they have money to eat for a portion of the school year. If for example, I move out of the county, and I can request a refund of the balance of my account. Or if my child graduates, or something to that effect. So we have a lot of manual refunds in PayPams, but our other systems, some of our other systems do have an automated function that allow parents to do that a little easier.
Mr. Campbell, we have that in board docs. We didn't print that out.
We didn't print that out for you.
All right, okay.
So instead of setting up a brand new vendor for every single payment in the entire district, we use a one-time vendor that we're not planning on using anytime soon.
Mr. Campbell just asked Ms. Cushenberry about why he didn't get a copy of all this. And basically, we want to save some trees. And one person ought to look on the committee, ought to look at it. I unfortunately volunteered myself. And
Information is in board docs, so that.
Yeah, it is in board docs.
And
And
the pages,
Right.
make them as big as you want.
that's very, I want the public to know that somebody is looking on the board, is looking at this, but not everybody has to look at it. But I want them to see that we're going through all these many transactions just to check to make sure that all are legitimate. Okay, page 66. Sharp Electronics, and I probably asked this question before, but we have an omnibus contract, I guess, with Sharp Electronics for all our printers.
Yes, sir.
When was the last time that contract was negotiated?
I don't know right offhand. Ms. Hamlin, would you have an idea of the last time when we last bid our copiers?
We did an RFP in 2021 for our multifunction copiers, and Sharp was awarded that.
And for how long is the contract?
The contract is it is a 5-year contract with the volunteer extension, just like any others, based on our terms and the superintendent's approval. So
this is 2021. That's before much of the inflation hit us. So this is a very advantageous contract for that period of time. That's kind of what I wanted to know. Okay. Page 78. Here's the one that I've mentioned to you the other day, page 78. You also need reading glasses to get to this. And it is Thompson Turner Construction. And if you go across there, you see Broad River Elementary, and you see a number of $306,492.92. And then right below it, you see Broad River Elementary, Thompson Turner Construction, $415,081.86. Now, I know who Thompson Turner Construction is. I know where Broad River is, and I know that they didn't get that. Something's not right. in that entry.
So Ms. Hamlin, do you know the difference between the two project codes, 52001 and 52005? So those are two separate, those generally distinguish different types of construction services. So we would know like roof or,
I know Broad River hasn't had that kind of expenditure on anything. It's the place where it says is not right.
and there's also an amendment at the end of the purchases and or contracts, $100,000 report that listed it, Kemp Thompson Turner. So I might flip to that. I did not unfortunately have an opportunity to check on this one as well before the meeting today.
When we did the details.
Page 78.
I will say that the two large transactions there were paid for under the referendum because of the funding of 519. So I will follow up to make sure that the scope is, Robin, can you go to so I can see the RFP number the other way?
Likely to be, so it may be in wiring or safety security, that sort of thing.
Correct.
I mean, I think it might be just an error in what building or what project it's at. But I would be shocked. Okay, so
We'll have to get that in. We'll check that out and get that information back to the board.
Check it out. Anything else, Mr. Campbell?
No, I don't have it.
I'm sure Ms. Hay hadn't had a chance to look at that, so we'll move on to the next item on the agenda, which is ESSER updates with dashboard. Denise.
You're more familiar with it today. I'm going to put Ms. Matson on the spot today and bring her forward to the table. We'll give her a minute to get settled. She's much more adept at these documents than I am and monitors.
They've seen them so often. I think they're as good as I am too. Well, actually, we're just on track of making sure all these expenditures are going to be completed by the time of the grant. We are at exactly 75% of all the funds being spent. You can see that we are at 99.7% of the ESSER 2. We still have August and September expenditures. What's left is about $69,000 in ESSER 2. And that's easily going to be spent. We do have a plan. You'll see if you look at the detail, there's like a $1. I mean, there's some of these activities with little, and we're going to sweep those and put those on custodial costs there to clean that up with an amendment to make sure it's all down to zero there. So that is our ESSER 2. So we feel very good about that. ESSER 3, we spent about 1.268327 for July, and we have just a little less than $20 million left. We feel confident that we will expend all of those funds by next September. Right now, everything money is sitting in an activity. We are about to September 11th. We're starting processes with the cabinet level. We're having some support with the Chiefs for Change because some projects are finished with money still sitting there. And so then we got to decide if there's an extra for that, or do we move it someplace else? But we feel that we will have all of these expended there.
Okay, thank you. Robin, could you move and show page number 4? Or the one seeing on the bottom of this here. That's the next one. That's the next one. There, right there, right there. You left. Okay. I've got a lot of years of dealing with the federal government and end of year funds and spending all the money. Okay. And this here shows you've got a couple balances, you know, that provide nursing staff and supplies to ensure safe and healthy students. You got 12,000 in that. You've got 33,000 in additional custodial services and so on. When you get to this time, you need to start tracking where you're shifting funds. Okay, but you need to kind of show us, because when you look at this and you see 0, 0, 0, and you started out with a budget of 29,000 or 241,199, and now you've spended 229,057. You got 12,134. You're not going to get to 0 and just buy just enough supplies to get to 0. You're going to transfer into another pot of money. So you need to show managers, and in this case, the board, where you're transferring those small amounts.
True.
Because we want to have 0, but we also want to have a track to show that it's not fake.
And we do that through the amendment process, so.
I understand, but what I'd really like to see is adding to this is your transfers.
Okay.
Okay? So we can see where that money is flowing, those small dollars that add up into bigger dollars, where you're putting those bigger dollars.
Right.
Does that make sense? Okay.
And we just, our plan was transferring into the custodial, because we know that we spend $55,000 every month, and we have 2 months of that, and so that was.
Makes perfect
Okay.
sense. Makes perfect sense.
You want us, and we show you in a minute.
But we need to kind of
Yes.
show how you're doing that. It also lets the board know exactly how we're coming down to $0 left of those federal funds, and that we're not cooking the books, okay?
Okay.
See, that's what
That's why you have to do it through an amendment. and get it
yes,
approved.
and that's
Yeah.
perfectly
Yes.
appropriate, but we just need to see,
Right.
okay? Okay, Mr. Campbell, do you have any questions on that?
That's fine.
Ms. Hay, do you have any questions?
I do not. Those were great suggestions. Thank you.
Mr. Smith?
Yeah, those were great suggestions, and I'll just refer back to what I said earlier, in terms of the breakdown on what was said that was spent in on the summer, on the extended school, on the community engagement. How did the dollar amounts need to be break down exactly, so you know exactly where that money is going, because out in town, a lot of people have asked me, Mr. Smith, you know, y'all spend this money, can you tell me and break down how many y'all spend to this program, or how many are spending? You know, I'm having a lot of people who are asking me that now. Because they know the ESSER funds, money is getting low, and they've never asked me some of these questions before. But they're asking me very intentional, specific questions, and I myself too would like to be able to know how to answer that, because that is a part of the board's responsibility, the physical responsibility. So I definitely would like to understand that and be able to digest.
Okay.
Thank you.
Dr. Claus, do you have any questions or comments? And she's muted. Okay. Next item on the agenda, list of new grants. It's always good to hear.
So this is a request made of Dr. Wisniewski at a previous board meeting. And so we captured that a few months ago, actually, after that request. And so we brought it to the next finance committee meeting. Ms. Matson developed this document, and we'll be happy to open it up for any questions.
Could you tell me about the undetermined for the fourth item down, the CSI federal grant for Robert Small's
At that
Leadership Academy?
time, we didn't have the fund number. It's now 239. It's just the fund number 239 there. We just signed that. And these are new grants. These aren't the ones we get all the time recurring with all the titles and things.
Mr. Campbell, do you have any questions about those grants?
Tina says no, she didn't have any questions.
No. Everything.
Mr. Smith, do you have any questions about these grants?
No, next time I don't.
Okay. Very good. Thank you very much. And the next item is debt service update. Now we're getting into the
Into the
serious
numbers.
business. All right.
So Mr. Brian Urich is here with us today, and he is going to walk us through this process. At the end of the presentation, I believe he is going to be looking for actually a motion in support of this worksheet as we pass this along to our county auditor's office in support of our millage rate for debt service. Just want to give you a prelude to the expectation or what we're looking for, and I'll turn it over to Brian.
Good afternoon, everyone. Can everyone hear me?
Sure can, Brian.
Yes,
It's
we
good to
can.
It's good to see everyone. This process is really the conclusion of what we started, what we do start every March in Debt Day, where you have your board workshop and I come and give a really solid hour of just going over debt. So as everyone knows, through that presentation each year, we are doing our best to fund the 8% program and the referendum program through a dedicated mill rate of 36.3. And we track the numbers on an ongoing basis with your finance department. And as we have approval from the board to issue the bonds, we ultimately get to the fall where we issue our final 2 bonds to set the mill rate. And so this is really the conclusion of the planning process as we get ready to issue and actually sell bonds next Monday. And then we also sell another bond at the end of the month. So I have 3 pages to try and consolidate the information. The first is the millage worksheet itself, and then the next 2 pages are supporting information that kind of help give some context to how we derive to some of the arithmetic. This page mirrors in more detail, but it mirrors a page in your audit, which is the debt service fund breakout. And so if you go into any of your audits, you'll see that the format is similar or substantially the same as we have here. So we can always go back and look at pro forma versus actual. At the top right, under the revenue column, we notate, and it's highlighted, we just received a number from your finance department. The beginning cash balance in the debt service fund is estimated to be $19,138,000. We then move to, on the revenue column, revenues from local sources. So we have estimated a millage value of $2,553,000. And I will get into that in a second of how we derived at that. And it's very important that that is a cash number. This is not a number based on assessed valuations. We're trying to base it off actual collections, which is more real time. I notate the 36.3 mils to the right of that number, and that gives us our total revenue from local sources. Under the revenue from local sources, we identify revenue from state sources, which are primarily homestead exemption monies that come in roughly in the month of May. That's typically when we receive them. Sometimes they come in June, but May and June is when those monies come in. So in terms of total revenues available for a 12-month period or 12-month cycle would be $113.4 million. We then move down to the expenditure column where we break out into 3 categories. We have the fall payments this year, this calendar year. Then we have in the spring, we have another round of payments due. And then the tax cycle has to cover the payments in the fall of 2024 or the fall of next calendar year. Highlighted for you in gray are the 2 bond issues we're about to issue. On Monday, we will issue in public market competitive bid the 2023 B series. It's a $30 million bond issue that the board has approved. And this is the amortization. That is a public sale where we issue a prospectus and we request a rating from Moody's Investor Service. And I'm happy to report that the credit rating of the school district has been affirmed by Moody's at a AA1. So I don't anticipate going back to Moody's for another, roughly 12 months, we'll call it. So that rating is already public again and is affirmed for probably another 12 months before we revisit our borrowing plans with the agency. And then we notate the 2023C borrowing, and that is through the SCAGO program, which will make the December 1st, 2023 payment on the outstanding installment purchase revenue bond. So those are the three payments that we are about to finalize. Don't anticipate the numbers to change materially. And then at the bottom, we notate what our cash balance is at the end of the next fiscal year based upon our assumptions. But then also I highlighted in orange the deep point. And so our deep point or our buffer, if there's deviations to these assumptions, is $5 million, which equates to 1.96 mil. So roughly, we have a 2 mil buffer there, just in case of the unknown. So this is a standard process that we've gone through many years in a row. And if there are any questions on this page, I'm happy to answer them. If not, I will move to the next page, which gets into a little bit of the assumptions.
Okay. Do you have any questions, Mr. Campbell? Dr. Gauze, do you have any questions?
No, I do not. Thank you.
No, I don't either. Let's go to the next page.
Okay. So the next page is a page I work with your finance department on, and it is the goal and objective of the page is to track collections in real time. So the tax bills go out substantially in the fall of each year. We'll call it, October. And then you start collecting money in late December. You bring in money in January, February, March, April, May, June, and then we close out the fiscal year. And then we have to issue debt. So it's a 7-month period of time as opposed to 12 months. So these numbers won't match up exactly with your audit, but the majority of the collections occur by the end of the fiscal year. You can see 2018, 19, 2021, and then 22 and 23. So really what we want to focus on is 22 and 23, because the 2023 numbers are, so to speak, hot off the press, right? Your finance department has just reconciled June, and we have a collection number. So this is a cash number, which is different than a assessed valuation number. This is actually a cash number. So 2023 for 7 months, local collections came in at around $4 million. You divide it by the millage rate of 36.3, and then we come up with a collectible value of a mill of $2,269,000. So for a 7-month period, 22 to 23, we saw a growth rate of 6.8%, which is good in a lot of ways. One, it's good to keep up with inflation. And then number two, it's good for credit rating purposes because we do share this information with Moody's Investor Service just to demonstrate that the health of the economy on a real-time basis is where it needs to be to support the credit rating. So what we do is we take this number, the 2,269,000, and if you go to the last page, this is a page from the more detailed debt day presentation that I give, where we then update the calendar year 2023 to the 2,269,000, which from the prior audited year, so this is going audited to unaudited, and it's a shorter period of time, you'll see a growth rate of 5.65. That will adjust when we have a full 12 months and we have an audit. But for our purposes right now, it is substantially where we need to be from an accuracy perspective. Then we get to estimating 2024, the value of a mill for this next fiscal year. And you all, as a board, have had presentations. It looks to be a very robust reassessment. And so we have a reassessment going on, but we also have a point of sale that also occurs during a 12-month period. And so through discussions, we have used a growth figure of 12.5%. There is a cap on maximum property revaluation of 15%. I think it's been discussed that there'll be a lot of properties that do hit that 15% target. So trying to balance what we could see versus a pro forma number, we went with 12.5%, which gives us a millage valuation for tax year 2023, which would be monies collected substantially in calendar year 2024, of $2,553,000. And if you scroll across, you can see that the debt service payments of $100.6 million, that will actually match 12 months of payments on the millage worksheet. And the math equates to maintaining the 36.3 mils. And that's important, the 36.3 mils. We have inflation that we have to address through the program. This is our opportunity to keep up with inflation. And we've made a commitment to the public through the referendum process that we're going to do everything we can to fund all the needs of the school district as best as possible through the millage rate of 36.3. So if there, well, I should say, lastly, on column J, you can see that we would, revisit things in 5 years. And at that point in time, the needs of the district, will evolve. Inflation will evolve, growth will evolve, and maybe we have another round of discussions on 8% program, referendum program, and see what the board at that time wants to do. But we're not hamstringing the boards of the future. We have flexibility to deal with the needs at that point in time, just like we're dealing with the needs today, with the flexibility that prior boards have provided the current board. So with that, I am happy to answer any questions of these numbers.
First of all, before we put the questions for the members, do you have any comments?
No, I'm, Mr. Nurick and Ms. Phillips and I worked very closely on the projections of the revenues for the current year and also, and the actual numbers, and then the projected cash value. So we're very comfortable, very in tune with this report, and are confident that it is accurate, and we will be forwarding that over to the county auditor in support of the 36.3 mils.
Mr. Campbell, do you have any questions or comments?
Not on that, no.
Ms. Hay, do you have any questions or comments? I've lost her. I stepped away. Okay, Mr. Don't have any questions or comments? Dr. Gloss, any questions or comments?
No, it looks good. It looks real good.
Yeah, I got to echo that. I just wish our operational millage rate was as easy to determine as this, because this is rock solid.
Yeah.
This is absolutely rock solid. It really shows that we are stabilizing our millage rate to our taxpayers. And we're fortunate that we have the inflation rate and the increasing value of the mill that's going to allow us to stay at that level. I think you're right. I think we can keep this at for 5 years. I really do. Given the trends that I'm seeing, this is, you can't argue these numbers. These numbers are just right on. So I need the kind of language for the motion that you all write up for us, and we will bring it up for a board vote at our September 1st, I believe it is your second first meeting, I think. I'm not sure.
I think, Colonel Guy, what we're looking for, and I think this is what we did last year, is we had the committee just approve these numbers, and we just forwarded them on to the county.
Oh, okay.
The millage levy summary report.
Yeah, so maybe just a motion to approve the millage levy summary report as presented.
Okay. Can you write that down?
And while Robin's doing that, I think also I want to mention that even though we're in a reassessment and in the operations millage, we are subject to a rollback. The debt service millage is not subject to the rollback. So we will, any growth beyond the mill value that we're going to see will roll back into the program, which will only enhance our ability to continue to function without increasing the tax rate there. So, and support the capital programs that we have proposed, the board's approved. So I just want to mention that.
Can I say motion to recommend to the full board the approval of the millage summary report as presented? Do they have to recommend to the full board or not?
I don't think we have to recommend
Okay,
to the
so
full
just
board.
motion to approve.
To approve, because we've already approved the budget.
Right.
Motion to approve the millage summary report as presented.
Okay.
So who's-
Would you like to make that motion?
Yeah, I will.
Okay, all right.
and it's
Ms. Hay, are you back on? Believe I see her. Ms. Hay?
I'm not going.
Okay, I'm gonna second it then.
Okay.
Any discussion?
No discussion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries unanimously. Brian? You worked your magic again.
She can't.
Appreciate that.
Can't hear it, can't hear everything. Okay, got it.
Thank you.
I'll send this to the auditor, and if there's any feedback, we'll certainly contact you.
Okay, sounds great. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Brian.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank God we have him. Okay. Now we're gonna move to school operations millage information. Of course, of a different color.
Yes, yes, it is. So I'll get started with this topic. It is equally as complex as the debt millage conversation, maybe a little more even. So school operations millage, it supports the standard operations, the daily operations of the school district. So it is the $320 million budget that the board has approved for next year, supports teachers' salaries, utilities, all the contracts, security, maintenance, custodial, and all of the above. So in the board, and well, actually, we've got final approval in late June for an ordinance after 3 readings with council to approve a millage rate, knowing that it was a pre-rollback number. So in blue here on the slide, the row with the blue boxes indicates what was approved by the board and council. So the operations millage last fiscal year was 125.6, and with support of the board and the county council, we approved a 4.4 mil increase to support the increases, including teacher salaries, maintaining teacher salaries at a high competitive level in our budget. So the total millage that was approved and in the original ordinance was 130 mils. And that would generate a dollar amount we'll see on the next slide of about $195 million. So what we're asking for today, or what we're proposing, we're not requesting, this is an operational function. We are required by state law to amend that millage or roll back that millage during a year of reassessment in order to ensure that we do not generate a windfall of money due to increased property values. So in a reassessment year, as we just discussed on the debt millage topic, in the situation, in the climate, in the economy that we're in our community now, we have high growth in those property values. So many of the properties in our county have hit the 15% maximum adjusted reassessment amounts. And so we're going to see significantly more value. And as a result of that, more tax revenue. So the purpose of the rollback that is required by the state is that you roll back or lower that millage in order to avoid having a windfall of cash. So as a result, I went through a methodology, and I'll talk about that shortly, of rolling that millage back and the amount is, that we rolled back to was 117.4 mils. And then we include the approved increase of 4.4. So the total amended millage will be 121.8. And so again, we rolled back 8.2, but the net effect to the taxpayer is actually a 3.6 mil reduction. So they'll see a lower tax rate on their bill, despite the fact that we did increase within that that rollback. So there is, again, no change in the debt service, not subject. So it is it's a positive process to go through, and I'll talk about that process here shortly, but it is a necessary.
Restate it simply stated, last year we charged the taxpayer 125.6 mils on their assessed value. This year, we're proposing to charge them 121.8 mils, which is a 3.8 mil reduction in but their property value is going to go up. And so the bottom line is for 121.8, we will get the amount of money we would have gotten had there not been reassessment at 130 mils. Is that a proper way to restate that?
Yes, sir. And this next slide reiterates that same topic.
Okay.
So the goal of the rollback is to remain revenue neutral. So in the far right column, that demonstrates the budgeted amount of 195 million. Our mill value we have estimated is 1.6 million. And if you divide the revenue by the revenue divided by the mill value, you're going to get 21.8 mils. So due to those increased values, 130 mils would have generated $13 million more revenue than that based on our estimates, but we are required to roll that millage back not to have a windfall. So 128.8, we, based on our estimates, should generate the amount that the board and council has approved as our budgeted tax revenue. Just one more note at the bottom here, we state that all of these, this millage does still remain within the limitations of the state millage cap. Actually, the cap doesn't change. The amount we have have banked millage does not change because it's all based on prior year's tax rate. So everything remains the same, and we're within the state limitations of state law. So a little more detail to regarding this. Basically, when we calculate the rollback, we get data from the Beaufort County tax rolls. And so I've been working with their staff to gather that data. There is a state formula that provides for taking reassessed values divided by the prior year taxes levied to get the new millage. However, that formula that is applied is intended to be applied throughout the entire state, does not necessarily fit school districts or counties with very high growth, particularly coastal counties in South Carolina. Can be harmed by just a strict formula. So particularly in years of high growth, which we're seeing now, that can be particularly harming. The original estimates that came out showed a rollback of actually 14 mils. And so our proposal has been developed with a different methodology to allow not such a significant rollback, but something more manageable, more reasonable, that will, and based on more of an actual numbers than an estimate of what we might receive. So we utilized a gross mill value methodology. So The county establishes a mill value each year and distributes it to every municipality and school district in the county, as well as themselves. And we take that mill value and typically apply a discount to it, even in for our budget year. In a reassessment year, we have shown historically that we have significant reductions or discounts in that area, meaning we collected in 2000. So I look back at 2013 and 2018 and showed that there were significant, there was a 90% of the gross mill value is what we received in our cash balances. And then in 2018, we received 87%. So I used historical values and as my methodology for determining a more reasonable roll. And so we applied a 12.5% discount to the gross value of the mill based on those last two reassessments. So in other words, we took another methodology. It was more about real numbers and less about data that was coming straight out of the tax rolls that could drastically fluctuate based on a number of things, mostly affected by shift from 6% to 4%.
Now, it's very appropriate to say you just heard about Brian looking at cash value of the mill. That's not assessed value, you know, that's cash value. And this is the same thing. It's looking at cash value of what that amount of mills actually brought into us, rather than what we think is going to be the assessed value. So that leads into the next slide to show you what happens when we didn't do that.
Right. So the next slide kind of reiterates what I just mentioned. We were given straight from the county tax rolls, the gross mill values. These were 2 reassessments ago in 2013 and 1 reassessment ago 5 years ago in 2018. And then the gross mill value that we were recently given. So I've been with the finance department long enough that there were 3 different county CFOs in those periods of time, but we saved all of that information and we're able to capture that in order to just go back and take a look at what have we seen historically in the past. And that really, applying that discount that was similar to previous years was really very eye-opening and provided the number that I really thought would be much closer to what the reality would bring. So in 2013, of course, we didn't apply a 10% discount, and we were actually short $5.5 million that year. It was rolled back too far. And then in 2018, it was rolled back 9 mills. And we were $9.3 million short of tax revenue that year. And we knew very early on that it was too far. The following year, we rolled back, we added 9 mills to the tax bill. So we lowered it 9 mills and then the next year increased it. So really that provides for a very unstable millage, which is not our goal. Our goal is to have a very either a flat or slightly growing millage that would support the increases in teacher salaries or other goals and priorities of the district. And so we certainly want to avoid those fluctuations.
So in other words, what we did was we cut the taxpayers' tax rate and they were very happy.
Mhm.
And the next year, we raised it the same amount and they were very mad. Had we not picked the right, they would have said, well, the tax rate's about the same.
Mhm.
And that's not only good for the taxpayer, but it's also critical when you have your credit rating determined. And if you haven't followed the news, the US government's credit rating just got downgraded. And it's because of uncertainty. And that's what we would be dealing with here if we had another reassessment deficit like we've had the previous. Now, it only showed 2 previous deficits. We had a third one. The first time it was done, we also had a deficit. So the total was about $19 million that this district lost in revenue over the previous 3 reassessment years. And we're going into a referendum where we're going to have to go in for bond sales to provide over $400 million worth of debt. And we cannot afford to have our credit rating reduced. We get this passed as is, we're going to be just fine. And it's going to be important, especially with interest rates going up the way they were. We were blessed in this last referendum and having record low interest rates. So they won't be record low for this next referendum. So it's for the taxpayers' benefit that we keep it as stable as we possibly can, but yet if we have a little extra that comes in, all we do is apply that to next year's rate. And if we have too much, they'll say, guess what? No tax increase, no millage increase, because we're going to carry over from what extra we got. Rather than having a loss like we did in 2018 and say, oh, just kidding, it's back up again. So that's the methodology that we're doing here.
So again, these are our best estimates based on the data we've received and historical practice over time. And just as a side note, I have found in the years of working with these numbers that taking averages or looking back at what history is going to repeat itself. So typically we're able to use those averages and they end up being the best case scenario for the district. So I've been successful with using that sort of methodology. And so I'm certain that this puts us in a much better place than the flat state formula would. But we never know what the end result will be as far as tax revenue. And we won't know until probably September of 2024, because the tax revenue will be coming in December, January. And then the final numbers will be issued by the time we're doing the audit next year. So
another issue that we have to be recognized during a reassessment year is when you have the most appeals. Because people get this tax bill that say, wait a minute, I'm going to appeal that. You've assessed my property at too high a rate. Even at the 15% limit, there's going to be people that are going to appeal it because they say, well, my house is falling down or whatever. So that was one of the reasons in 2019, we had tax revenue coming in late that year. So your point about having to wait till September to really have an idea of what we're really going to have in a closeout. We haven't closed out till September. Right. So, okay.
all right. So in this process, during this process, we collaborated with a number of different people or organizations. Beaufort County Assessor, we certainly had her come and talk to us about reassessment. That was very helpful, very informative to see what kind of growth she was expecting as well. Beaufort County Chief Financial Officer Hayes Williams is tremendous at the work that he does, and he was very supportive of the methodology that we're using here. Our team, we ran the methodology by experienced professionals in our department who we as a consensus felt that this was the best, most reasonable method to use. And then finally, we reached out once we determined the rate. that we were going with Beaufort County legal team. So, and that's where it comes to the process. So in the original ordinance, there was a paragraph that stated, well, one that said we had 130 mills, but there was a paragraph that referred to and stated that council had reserved the right to amend the ordinance via a resolution. So their legal team at the time believed that it required only one vote of council to amend the millage rate that we changed to rollback. When I contacted them in July and said we are ready to come to council to do that resolution and get approval, they had a difference of opinion and felt that it as if we needed an amended ordinance, which requires 3 readings. So we have planned out and already have scheduled 3 readings with county council for approval of an amended ordinance, with the only change being the 121.8 mils. So everything else on the ordinance will remain the same, including no dollars will change, revenues or expenses. The only thing that will change is that millage. And so on the last slide here is the timeline. We're presenting today. We felt it was very important that before we go to county council on Monday, that the board knows that we're going, what I'm going to talk about. And then on Monday, I will be presenting. The county council's finance committee does not meet till August 21st. So it was too late in the month to be to get that reading, and we have to be done by August 31st per ordinance. So they had to squeeze 3 readings into August, and we will be going to the community something and land use committee at 3 o'clock on Monday, and then straight to county council at 5 o'clock on Monday. And then second reading will be there will be a special called meeting on the 21st. And then we will give an update at our board work session on Friday, the 25th. And then we will do third and final reading on August 28th. So that will all fit in before the August 31st. Then the copy of the ordinance will be signed, and I'll forward it over to the county auditor, and he puts it on the tax bills.
Once you inform the committee of your meeting you had just before this meeting started.
Oh, yes. Collaboration, that adds one line to our collaboration. We just today, Dr. Rodriguez and I met with Chairman Passament of County Council and Ms. Tabernick, who is the Beaufort County School District and Council Liaison. So she provides updates to council of what's happening in our school district and at the meetings. And we explained the details of what we explained to you all today. And they were very, very supportive of the information. They were thrilled that we're having a tax reduction and felt that things would go very smoothly on Monday.
Okay, Mr. Campbell, you have any questions or comments?
No, pretty good. Everything works out fine.
Okay, Ms. Hay, do you have any questions or comments?
You're muted, Elizabeth.
Dr. Draws, do you have any questions or comments?
No, it looks good. It looks real good.
Mr. Smith, do you have any questions or comments?
I just think that we can't tax other people who have all these yachts and boats, and who have all these there are additional things that we can't tax. It's unfortunate that we can't tax those things. Even though we're doing the reduce, there's a lot of boats and yachts and other things and other homes that I wish that we could tax to get some more money. Yeah.
Ms. Hay, do you have any comments or questions?
I don't. I'm not sure if you can hear me, but I don't have any questions.
Hear you fine. Thank you. Well, I want to thank you. I think We don't need to have a vote. You're going to inform the full board at our work session. And you are working to provide the funding that we approve when we approve the budget. This is just a matter of how we're going to get the money that we ask for. Right?
That's correct. Yes, sir.
Okay. Thank you, and thank you for the hard work. I just wish, oh, by the way, when fiscal authority, we don't have to go through this thing again. So when that comes through, it'll be much easier. Okay, next, the last item is the
Payroll.
pay schedule information.
All right, so this is information only. This is I would not say an anomaly, but it is an issue that reoccurs about every 10 or 11 years. It is very common in the world of education. And I think maybe even higher ed. I think Mr. Geyer may have experienced it as well. And it is, so basically, we will see a change in the number of, I'm just reading this explanation. Okay, so basically full-time employees are paid every 2 weeks. So employees and 26 paychecks a year. And so since that date is rotating, and we gain employees with specific contracts beginning and ending dates like teachers or other classified staff, they experience an extra pay date approximately every 11 years. It's a very common occurrence among educators who are paid on a bi-weekly basis, once every other week. And it requires us to need to spread the annual salary that they are paid over 27 paychecks as opposed to 26 for one school year. We have done this consistently over every year I've been with the district. So I have seen it done twice before. And it does require 27. You have an email that went out from Miss Alice Walton on July 6th to inform employees of the change. It does affect employees that work less than 260 days a year. Robin and I, district staff for the most part, principals, year-round employees are not subject to this because they're working all throughout the year. So consistent with historical practice, the school district will spread the pay of those affected employees over 27 paychecks for 1 year, beginning with their first paycheck of the school year. So we have rotating schedules. Some start getting paid various times in the month of August. And so that's why we don't say a specific date that it will begin, because every group of employees is different. We have a couple of scenarios, one with a teacher and one with a classified staff. What we wanted to ensure was that the pay increases that the board approved, would surpass and still provide a net increase for teachers and classified staff, despite the fact that there would be a 27 paycheck. And that is what we proved to be true. The benefit is that the following school year, they will move back to 26 paychecks, and it will appear to be a raise. Even without any other raises, they will have more funds. So it is something that we do get many questions about each year. And our staff is trained on explaining it to any folks who inquire on it. But we want to make sure that folks know that it will resume to 26, including any cost of living or step increases the following school year. So with that, I'm just informing the board. So if you have any questions, you can help refer them to our finance department, payroll in particular. And we have a link directly to the payroll office that is monitored comes directly emails of our payroll. We have 3 primary payroll staff, and they are prepared to answer those questions. So with that, I'll be happy to take any questions you may have.
I just have one question about the coaches.
Mhm.
They did not receive their third increase because they was told that the teachers, they went to the teachers. So
So under Dr. Berg's leadership, he embarked on a phase, a program to increase the coaching salaries. And during the COVID year would have been the third phase. The following year, we did catch up those. So it is my belief that we did complete that process. We did have a major increase in coaches, not this budget year, but the previous year. So, but I will, inquire to my staff, make sure that's accurate, and then come back with you. But it's my understanding that it was completed, and it ended up being a little larger than we had expected in that third phase, actually. So, but I'll be certain to check on that. Mhm.
Okay, Dr. Gauss, do you have any questions or comments?
No, thank you.
Mr. Smith? This is a copy of the email that was sent out to all the employees by Alice Walton on July 6th. So it's very self-explanatory, and it does show that the sample teacher actually is getting $84 more per pay period than they would have gotten. So they will have a very nice next year.
So their first paycheck will be the same. Actually, and more detail than that, they're getting paid this Friday, August 11th. Teachers don't begin work in Monday. So that's a perfect illustration of the problem. They begin getting paid before they ever start work. And so that becomes an issue. So by having 27, that's going to push back that first paycheck in August of 24. To correct that. So that's that. I forgot to mention that, but that's really important.
All right, we have covered all the topics. Are there any future topics? Mr. Campbell? Dr. Glau? Any future topics?
Nope, not right now.
Ms. Hay, do you have any future topics?
You're muted.
Ms. Hay?
I don't see her.
Okay. All right, well. Oh, you have some future topics, yes.
So the first four on the list are the standard items that we always have. But I looked back at I did identify that I had not completed the OE operational expectation number 5, which is the budget.
Okay.
So now that we'll be finalizing this millage, I will bring that forward and do an executive summary, just a 1-pager for the board. And I looked back at last year, and we did bring you the fourth quarter financial report and the Minority Business Women Enterprise, which is that one's already ready. And we'll do a summary of the other two. So we have it all planned out, ready to go.
Perfect. Sounds good. Sounds good. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
So move.
Not
What?
yet.
Not yet.
Watch out.
The next meeting.
Oh, the next meeting.
For the next meeting.
Of course. The next meeting. Gotta do that. What do you think?
So you're back,
I'm back on the 16th.
yeah. So if you want to move it to the 21st.
When? This month?
September.
Oh, September. Oh, okay. That's fine.
Yeah, that's fine. September 21st at,
At 2:30.
well, is that good for Elizabeth? 2:30?
We do it at 2:30 because of Elizabeth, but we need to ask her.
Okay, let's tentatively put it at 2:30 and check with. It's fine with me. That's the 21st. Okay. All right. 2:30. Now, can we have a motion to adjourn?
Yes.
When is, the average meetings that we know we go to?
School conference?
No, the school board,
Oh, you mean the regional meeting?
yes.
I don't know if they have the date yet. I know it's usually on the Thursday, but I can look up and see.
Okay. I think it's gonna be in Colleton High School this year.
Okay,
I think so.
so I'll look up,
Somerville.
in Somerville last year. I think they had the dates to be determined.
Yeah. No
Okay,
problem.
all right, we are adjourned. Thank you very much. Thank you, Jennifer. Well, that wasn't bad for this big a.
No, not
You need some help? Okay.
If you're
2
heading
hours.
over to the,
Oh, yeah, I gotta stop by the
it's the chamber.
chamber.
What time? I thought
It
that's
starts at 4:30,
It started at 3, it's from
Start-
3 to 6.
3 to 6.
Oh, okay.
I'll just stop on my way and I'll poke my head in. Very long. Wow. Wow.
Next one won't be so long. We had quite a few weeks. Well, we missed a month. That's part of the reason why it was longer.
It's really nice that we had Brian first. Because it really set it up. You know,
And you think about the mill value for debt is 2.2 million. If we didn't have 4%ers exempted, that would be the mill value for operations too. So we missed out on $600,000 for every mill.
Yeah.
Because of that law.
yeah.
So that brings it all full circle.
Yes.